Welcome to Root Work Everything Healing channel. So it's been a while, but I am coming to you today with a video. And we just recently had a full moon, so a lot of energy in the world. If you are like me, you've probably been dreaming, which I have been. But today I did a little bit of numerology, so I'm going to share with you kind of what came up today. I'm going to pull a few cards for us, and we're just going to rap a little bit about what comes up, and hopefully these messages reach you and resonate. Apply them if they apply. If they don't, wait till I do another video and see if I got messages for you. Understand you can always reach me at rootwork.llc and schedule your own reading if you would like one. But here on this channel, we kind of talk about a little bit of everything as it pertains to healing. For those who don't know, I work in the area of addiction. I diagnose addictions and I offer treatment, non-traditional and traditional ways of healing. So let's just get into it. So when I was doing our numbers today, we added up to a 10. And so that just, let me put these down for a minute. So I just, in healing, I think that everybody wants to start with a new. And I believe that that's a great intention to set. I think that, as we set our intentions on starting something new, beginning something new, I think that's always, it's always a good, journey to kind of to follow. However, I do want us to understand that the 10 number always brings us the 1 and the 0, which means that 10 represents endings, finalizations, and 1, and then you've got the 1 that represents the beginning. And so I think it's important to understand that you cannot have one without the other. And a lot of times we want to have new beginnings, but we don't want to do the work that is required to really be able to embrace that new beginning. Because there's an ending that has to happen to anything that begins. Even as if we think about the way that we portal into this earth, right? At some point, through that journey, as the child comes down out of the mother's womb, they are beginning a new life at that moment. So even the life that they knew being in the womb, that part ends. And as they portal, the moment that that placenta is cut away from the child, then they start new. Right now, it's on them to breathe in the air. It's on them to all the 9 months that they were in, their development stage. Now it's time to to use what you got to thrive. And so we understand that sometimes we don't develop like we should, for many reasons, whether it be genetic, whether it be environmental, whether it be blockages in the way, we just don't develop like we should. And so when we don't develop like we should, it makes it harder. I myself just became a grandmother to a young boy who just was released from the NICU. As his first test on this earthly plane was to learn how to breathe on his own. And so here we are safe. Sometimes we're safe in these places, we're safe in these spaces, but then when it comes time for us to activate what it is that we have to be able to sustain life on our own, well, that's the test. And so with these beginnings, there has to be an ending. And sometimes I think we look to avoid the endings because maybe they're not what we wanted. Maybe they're not what we anticipated. And so we'll start something new. But I think what's important to understand is when we don't close those doors, right? When we don't do the work that's necessary, we may get a beginning, but it doesn't mean that we're not going to cycle back. Or we may miss opportunities. Okay, so that's what is today's energy is kind of focusing on. So even when we look at just the major energies that's around us, when we think about in our love life, some people, in the energy of today may be embracing a new relationship. They may be embracing a new self journey, starting something new, a new way of feeling, a new relationship with their emotions, a new relationship with our partnership, a business partnership. Understanding the new, right, as we go back over the 9 months, the 9 weeks, the 9 years, right, those are the things that got us ready for the new. And so without analyzing what's going to be required of you in the new and what you need to allow to leave or to let go and to leave behind, failure to do those things, we tend to take things into our beginning of this new journey, in relationship or partnership, situationship, whatever ship you want to call it, right? Even that relationship with yourself, then we tend to self-sabotage, and that's usually what happens, is that things can start out really, really good, and then you find yourself triggered, and usually you're triggered from the past, and it's because that work needed to be done before that new came along. So we, when those things come up, then we say, okay, I probably need to pay attention to these things because I got this new situation here. And if I don't get a hold of it, then those things tend to be the things that imprint and either cause us to miss out on opportunities or to end opportunities prematurely. Even when we're looking at the wand, the wands, when we think about what we desire, this is maybe traveling to a new place. Sometimes it's just important for us to go and have a new experience, because that's kind of what the wands speak of, is our desires, sometimes, or to learn something new about yourself. Ending in when you think about ending, it's ending, when you think about your desires in that wand energy, it's really, coming to an ending of thinking of things is such as minimum thinking. It's really expanding your experiences, because in life we grow. We want to grow. And you can't grow without expanding, which means that, you can expand through knowledge, through books. Books take us places that we don't necessarily have to physically experience to understand. And so when we can't pick up and leave, you can always pick up a book. And it's going to expand your knowledge, whether through fiction and or nonfiction. Traditional or what's traditional, So when we end up in that new experience, in that new wand energy, it's, bringing in what we desire. And understanding that sometimes our desires require new experiences, because we can't take the same person. We can't want something new and take the same person with us and think that it's going to be enough to sustain the new, because what we have to look at what the new requires, and then look at where we at now and say, okay, well, what do I need to embody at this moment to really bring myself forward to that? When we're looking at the swords, we're looking at a new way of thinking. Maybe you had an epiphany. Sometimes the epiphanies is good or bad, right? But you had an epiphany, and maybe it's time to think to kind of look and see what's coming into that. But this is a new way of thinking. Maybe our old way of thinking is just not serving us. A lot of times, what happens is that we think that we look outward at the world and we think that the world is affecting us. That's our perception. But in reality, we have to understand that what is within us shows up outside of us. And so if our perception of things are narrow, then it's going to seem like life itself is narrow, because that is the way that you're thinking. So sometimes we need to embrace new ways of thinking. And so understanding that you change your thinking, you change your life. Right? And most of problems that we experience in our life is completely based off our perception. It's completely based off our own pool of thinking. And I tell people this all the time. You are responsible for telling your brain what to think. Your brain is not responsible for telling you what to think. And so it matters what you put in your brain, and it matters what you download and how you talk to yourself and what you think about yourself, because that is the part that comes outward. So as within, as so without. And so if your framework is very narrow and negative, and it's going to come out as a failure to thrive, because you are only as good as what's in there. And so that's the reason why it's important to continue to develop our mind, so that we can use it to analyze and to actually be able to tell it what to do, instead of our mind telling us what to do. And then we also then have our pinnacles, and we may be receiving some type of something that maybe we have been putting our minds to, our physical work to. And so maybe you are experiencing something new coming in, maybe a new opportunity or something, a new way to make money, a new purchase, something like that, something big, something maybe you've been wanting. So we are kind of in that energy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to shuffle, give this deck a few shuffles, and I always like to pull a card for the mind, the body, and the spirit. And so I'm going to put this cards in 3, and I'm going to take my reading from the middle, and I'm going to turn over 3 cards. Okay, so in the mind, we've got the 4 of Wands that came up here. And so I do think that building foundation, this is in regards to building a stability and foundation. And so for somebody out there, this message is for you. Is you may be looking for a new home, or just settling into a new home, or maybe you want to make your home more secure or more foundational. I think it's always important to make sure you put your ancestor altar there, because I do think that helps us always feel a little bit more closer and downward to home. But this is really laying a foundation. It's time to really stop thinking about the right now and start thinking about later. And so this is what am I needing to build a more stable, a more secure, a more suitable place. And I'm not building out of sticks. I'm building out of something that's going to be firm, something that is going to to plant me for growth. You see what I'm saying? And so this could be where you at in your mind. Now, how you want to bring this out in your body, mind, body, I do feel like that somebody may be contemplating the possibility of moving, but I do feel like that you need to plant a seed. So if this is what you want in the mind, it's something more stable, whether this is even emotional stability, physical stability, financial stability, whatever stability it is that you're trying to stabilize, you first have to plant a seed, so that seed grows. I do believe that some people have planted some seeds, and I do think at this moment you're waiting. I mean, we're getting closer and closer to reaping season, so I do feel like that you should see some type of growth. Now, what I don't want you to think is that you're going to see this huge amount of growth, because just because we plant a seed does not mean that we get what we want immediately. What happens is that it comes in little signs. Things begin to develop. You see small spurts of growth. Understand that is growth. So we have to keep watering that intention and watering that on a physical level, not just a mental level, so that you continue to be to fortify what it is that you want, so it continues to grow. Spiritually, I want you to for one, I want you to practice more communion with your, not only with your ancestors, but I want you more communion with your community. I want you to it looks like somebody's got some celebrations coming on. I want you to celebrate your small wins is really the message that I'm getting. I feel like a lot of times we celebrate kind of like that's like asking a fan of football to celebrate only the Super Bowl. No, they're going to celebrate every freaking win, every freaking move that they team makes, all the way till it gets to the Super Bowl. So for them, they're an active cheerleader in what it is that they're setting their attention to through and through, not only at the beginning but at the end as well. So understand that with any beginning there has to be an ending. In any beginning, in any ending, there has to be an ending. The two are synonymous. You cannot have one without the other. So I hope these messages resonated. If not, check back for when I make another video. And again, feel free to always hit me up at rootwork.llc and schedule your own reading, or visit us on our website at rootworkllc.com and check us out. Thank you and have a great day.